Perfume 101 with Arch 110. Guys, Arch 110, how's everyone doing? Good, 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 I hope. Stop singing, Tom, it's not very good. Today I'm reviewing Orchid Soleil by Tom Ford. It's the latest addition to the Orchid line. Predecessors, Black Orchid Eau de Toilette, Velvet Orchid, I'm sure there are going to be many more to come. It's a great line. They are part of his signature line. They come in these ribbed bottles. That's the only way I can describe them, really. This one came out in 2016, in July last year, and it's classed as an Oriental Floral. I'm a really big fan of his signature line. I find most of them interesting. They're all powerful. They're just kind of rich and gorgeous fragrances. So the first thing I want to say is, if you're familiar with this line, not the signature line, but the Orchid line, if you've tried Black Orchid before, which gets a lot of love and a lot of hate as well, and or Velvet Orchid, which by the way is stunning. Gosh, I got them both. Well, I've got them both, and I've got a few others of his as well. Amazing. Wait. If you're familiar with this line, I will say first off that you will be familiar with the overall tone of how they smell. All of them contain the same type of feeling and the same type of ingredients. They all have, and I want to say this first off just to kind of set the tone of the review, they all have a very rich, fuzzy kind of feel. The texture of the fragrances in the Orchid line are fuzzy, full-bodied, kind of in-your-face fragrance. The Black Orchid is the most intense. It seems like they're going back and back and back every time they release a new one, and I don't mean in terms of how good the fragrance is or anything like that. I just mean that they are getting more toned down every time they release a new one. Black Orchid is harsh, chocolate, vetiver, crazy, roughness in your face. Velvet Orchid was a more feminized version of Black Orchid. Velvet Orchid was, did I say that right? Velvet Orchid was a more feminized version of Black Orchid. It was altogether softer, a lot prettier, a lot less masculine. And then this one, Orchid Soleil, this is based around the sun. It's supposed to be a very luminous and vibrant kind of fragrance. This one feels softer still. Let me tell you the notes before I carry on, because I'm going to end up digressing 1,000 times. So the top notes are pink pepper, bitter orange and cypress. Cypress is a note, if you don't know what it is, it's a green note. It's kind of piney, herbal feeling. Yeah, it's kind of nice. I like it, but it's not hugely apparent in opening. I just give you guys the notes for review purposes. The heart notes are red spider lily. It makes me shudder. The thought of, I'm sure it's a very beautiful flower, but the thought of it just makes me think, oh, a spider living in a flower is going to jump right out. Red spider lily and tuberose. The base notes are chestnut cream, vanilla, patchouli and orchid. Now I need to say that every single orchid fragrance that Tom Ford has released all of them have had a fantasy accord in them, which I think is amazing because, you know, you can go down the natural route, you can go and smell like pure petals and things like that. But I think it's great to have a fantasy element to a fragrance, something that you can smell but isn't necessarily derived straight from nature. I mean, chestnut cream. Did I just win something on eBay? Chestnut cream is the thing in this one. It's the part of the fragrance that is, that sounds really interesting, I want to smell it, and it is apparent. It is apparent. It's great to have something to go out there and say, okay, we're going to put this in it, and then make it apparent, because I've smelled things that are supposed to have sand in them, or stone, or ice, and you smell them and you go, I don't know what that is. I can't smell that one tiny iota. So let's spray it on my hand. As I'm doing this, I need to say thank you to my lovely fragrant friend Gary, who sent me such a lovely decant. It's enabled me to wear it loads of times, and I still have quite a bit left as well. I don't have the bottle yet, but I will be getting it. So the opening is very unusual. It's the opening of Black Orchid is unusual. The opening of Velvet Orchid is less unusual, but this has a very strange tone at first, which does go away. It has a strange, I guess you could call it, touching on medicinal feel, tiny bit plasticky, which is weird because one of my favourites by them is White Patchouli. Them, by him, is White Patchouli, and that has a plasticky kind of opening as well, which if you sprayed it straight away and smelled it, you would be put off. But with all fragrances, as we know as perfume lovers, you have to give it time to develop, to do what it needs to do. There's no mention of bitter orange or cypress. It's a tiny little bit spicy, but the most important thing I can say about this fragrance is tuberose. Tuberose is the entire backdrop of this fragrance. It's the feeling, it's the theme, it's essentially a white floral fragrance. Being a lover of tuberose, I'm a fan of this fragrance as well. If you're not a lover of tuberose, maybe rethink smelling it. If you're not a lover of Black Orchid, maybe rethink smelling it. But I keep looking over there because my bottles are just sitting here. I love you so much. Tuberose is immediately apparent. It's not a heady tuberose, it's not sharp, it's not indolic, it's not anything too harsh. There is something else in this fragrance, the Fantasy Accord, which I just mentioned, which really tempers down this white floral. So I want to talk about the chestnut cream. That is giving it its character. The tuberose is the backdrop, but the chestnut cream is giving it its entire character. It's strange to smell a creamy, nutty accord or feeling in a fragrance. Not a lot of fragrances, especially mainstream, they don't really play around with nut elements. It's not, you just don't find that very often, but you can smell it in this straight away. It's kind of like a harmonious blend between this beautiful tuberose and then a creamy, nutty chestnut. That's why it's bizarre. It's not usual. It's not immediately, oh god, that's lovely. You know, it's a little bit, whoa, okay, what's going on there? But it works, and it really starts to blend when it gets to the dry down stage. The dry down stage is smooth sailing. Everything comes together. It's literally a combination of those three things, and they are very harmonious. Chestnut cream, nutty creaminess, and a white floral. So nice. It feels more like Velvet Orchid than it does, I looked there again, didn't I? It feels more like Velvet Orchid than it does Black Orchid. It's like Black Orchid is the dark, twisted sister and the head of the family. Velvet Orchid is the young, runaway sister. You know, the one that's a little bit more innocent. And then this one is the most manageable. This is the baby that's just been born. I shouldn't say things like this. I make myself sound like I'm a crazy person. Although I say it's more manageable, it's still got some punch. It's Tom Ford at the end of the day. A lot of his fragrances have a whack, they have a lot of body. It's got a lot of body going on. It's very thick, it's quite heady, but it's not in any way as overpowering as Black Orchid is. It's a much more softened down version of the same family. The heart notes are lovely. It's those three things I mentioned before. Fine, it starts to get manageable, and then the dry down is really kind of strange. Well, not strange, but the dry down is where it starts to reveal its more gourmand character. Vanilla and chestnut cream at some points make it feel almost edible, which is strange. The tuberose is always there, just in the background, saying, you know, I'm fine, I'm still here, but it does go a bit more gourmand towards the end, so it goes a bit foodie. It's never, ever as powerful, like I said, as the others. I feel like this would be a good starting point on the Orchid line. I think you should go and try them, if you've never tried them before, against the grain, and choose the newest one first, and then work up to Black Orchid, because they're going backwards, but if you're not used to harsh fragrances, go the other way. It's really nice. It's just got little dots of dots of spice here and there. Tuberose is really calm. I love that. You know, I love tuberose when it's loud and horrible anyway, and brash. But this is a very tamed, sweetened up, fuzzy tuberose with a creaminess around the edges. The very last stage of this fragrance, where the gourmand backs off a little bit, the floral comes out a little bit more again. Like I said, tuberose is always there. It's always there, it's always present. And this becomes less gourmand again, and by then it's a skin scent. You know, it's very close to your skin. I don't think it is anywhere close as... anywhere close? It's no way as near as beastly as Black Orchid is, even Velvet Orchid. This is the calmer one. This is the one that is a lot more manageable. I say that word a lot, but it fits very well. It's softer, all around softer. A little bit unusual still, which is, you know, a plus. That's pretty much all I can say about it. I should mention longevity. I don't get the greatest longevity out of this. But then I guess I'm comparing it to Black Orchid, which is not a fair comparison because that's a beast of a fragrance. I think this is of an average longevity and projection. It's manageable. Again, I will say it again. Anyway, I'm Matt Mano. Click my logo to subscribe, and if you guys want to go and buy this fragrance, it is available right now at notino.co.uk or .com. I'll put links below. It's the newest Tom Ford. Go and check it out, see what you think. Maybe buy a sample from somewhere. I want to get it. Anyway, I'll speak to you guys soon. Goodbye.